Hi, everyone. Super excited to be here. So I just wanted to do a really quick poll before we get started, yeah? A little bit of audience participation. You at home can also take part, of course. So if you're here in the audience and you're able, I want you to raise your hands when I say. And like I said, if you're at home, also do it, because I might not be able to see it, but I can actually feel it. So it's really important that you do it. So who here loves to travel abroad to warmer places this time of year? I see a lot of hands, yeah, especially with the Finnish kind of winter coming up, right? And who here loves a good deal, good bargain? Oh yeah, lots of people. Well, we are about to go south to Latin America, Asia, and Africa. And today you actually get two for the price of one, because we're going to have two really quick fire sessions, two quick panels, and we hope that at the end you're going to have a bit more insight into some of the regions that are going to be shaping the future of our industry. So this session is called The Next Billion Players Tapping into Emerging Markets. And one thing you're going to notice when the people come out is that they really, really love the color pink. And it's not actually a coincidence. We've given them all pink t-shirts to wear because we really hope that you're going to seek them out, whether it's during the breaks, lunch we've already had, but the after party. We really want you to just continue having some of these conversations with them because we don't have a lot of time, so we're actually going to get started now. So first up, please give a very, very warm welcome to 5 super talented game makers from studios in India, Brazil, Colombia, Argentina, and Paraguay. Hello. Welcome. Have a seat. You all look great. Don't they look great in pink? Yes. I put on pink lipstick to match them. So I was like black and then pop a pink to coordinate. Well, welcome. So here we have Juan Castañeda. He is the CEO and creative director of Colombia-based studio Bando. Next to him, we have Juan de Uruaza, CEO of Paraguayan studio Possibillion Tech. Next to him, from Argentina, we have CEO and game director of Whiteboard Games, Luciano Musella. And from Brazil, we have Humberto Rodrigues, head of game design and animation at Petit Fabrique. And last but not least, we have from India, Ravi John. He is the CEO and co-founder of Super Gaming. Hi, everyone, welcome. So, we know that so far the speakers have had some fun facts that they were sharing. So we're going to do a really quick series of fun facts because we think it's nice to get to know people a little bit better. And we're going to start over here with Juan before we get into it, you know?
Thanks, Deb. So when I was around 4 years old, my dad came back from a trip with an old NES, and I basically haven't stopped playing since.
I'm a science fiction writer. I have 10 books published, but they are all in Spanish, so sorry.
I actually have a copy. I'm very lucky. I'm excited to have someone translate it for me. So,
I don't like pink. I do like red, though.
I'm born and raised in the countryside of the Amazon, just like our studio.
Beautiful.
I was actually the first iPhone developer back in India in 2009. Today I'm making Indus, which people call the Wakanda of India.
We're going to get into what that means as well. But so now to get started, we wanted to do a little bit of myth busting, yeah? Because there are quite a lot of misconceptions when it comes to the Latin American and Indian markets. And so with these markets evolving, what kinds of misconceptions do you often encounter from Western developers about these regions? And Humberto, we'll start with you.
Many people see us at Latin America as just a huge consumer market, and that's true because it's a $8.7 billion market, but we have so much more. Like currently, we have a full circle industry happening down there. We have people working in smaller indie titles for mobile, single developers releasing on Steam, and even studios that are working in AAA titles. Look at us at Petit Fabrique. We are working with our own IPs and also big brands like DreamWorks, Zeg Heroes, Nickelodeon. So I think the message is come see for yourself, come to Latin America, attend our events, and visit the studios. We would be more than happy to show you our own IPs and what comes next.
Awesome. Yeah, so lots going on definitely in Latin America. And Robbie, I'm going to come over to you because you have said that India is the biggest kept secret. What do you mean by that?
First, I'd like to say that it's not really a secret anymore. India is 1.4 billion people. We have 700 million people under the age of 25, 500 million gamers. We literally download every game. We download the most games on Google Play. But what I'm most excited about, essentially, is monetization. We've seen a big change in monetization in the country, led by battle royale shooters. And I recently came across this stat, which actually said that on Google Play, more than 50% of first-time new spenders every month are from India.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of those stats are just staggering, and I think it's just a really exciting time for India. And I know that for Latin America, you've mentioned that it's like a critical time as well. And maybe, Juan, you can explain a little bit more about, why is the time now when it comes to LATAM?
It's a very, very exciting time because the interesting thing is there's a lot of studios throughout Latin America that have been operating for 20 or 25 years, and they've worked on huge AAA projects and all kinds of productions, but you don't hear about them very often because they've been working under NDAs and basically quietly building up talent and building up experience and production capacity and even capital. And so I think now we're at this transition period where all of these studios suddenly are out in the open and they're able to create new original IP, for example. And we're seeing a lot of activity in mergers and acquisitions, so it's a very, very interesting time to be investing. In our case, for example, Studio Bando, we're developing an original IP about the things that we pass along.
Can you share a little bit more about how sort of cultural context and storytelling might play into the success of the market?
So it's also a great opportunity because I think we have unique aesthetics, unique music, and actually unique stories that haven't been seen before in games. And so I think it's a really great market opportunity for all of these things to really gain an audience and stand out amongst a sea of other content. In our case, our project is based on what you'd call the Colombian mythology of nowadays, which is magical realism that comes from the narrative literary current of Gabriel Garcia Marquez.
And I know that your game has been likened to something by The Guardian. Can you tell people what that is?
That's right. Sopa has been described by The Guardian as a game that feels like playing a Pixar movie. And we're very humbled by that.
Don't we all want to do that? Yes. Get out your tissues. Well, I'd like to just follow on with this cultural context to Robbie, because you mentioned that you're making the Wakanda for India. I think we get an idea of maybe what that means, but maybe you can talk a little bit more about why that's important.
I think, one of the key things is that gaming is a representation of your art and culture, much like movies and music. In India, we kind of found ourselves underrepresented in that world of gaming. And that's really where we chose to were very inspired by what the movie Black Panther did with Afrofuturism. We kind of built this whole narrative around Indo-futurism, representing Indian art and culture inside of a game. That's really our game, Indus. For context, I think of India as not just one country, but maybe, like Europe, because of the multiple, languages, dialects that you kind of see inside of it. Even when a cricket match is being streamed, it'll be streamed in 12 different languages. And what we saw with our approach of taking culturalization and putting it inside of a game, we saw it being accepted worldwide. We got to about 15 million pre-registered users kind of looking to see Indian art and culture represented authentically. And last week we launched our game Indus in India to #1 on both iOS and Android, and we've got 5 million players since.
Can we just, super exciting. And just even looking at some of the artwork from Indus, I mean, it's really stunning. And much like India, you know, a lot of you have said that you can't sweep LATAM with just one brush. There are so many different nuances, the same way that those exist in India, those regional differences, different languages, etc. Can you chat a little bit about how others might approach some of those nuances in the market? And I'll throw that to you, Juan.
Yeah, I believe that Latin America is like two continents. You have Brazil, that by itself is just such a big country with a lot of different regions and everything. And then you have the Spanish-speaking rest of Latin America that are quite different. Each country has their own things, their own language differences, I will say. I believe everyone consume kind of similar kind of games, like the same things, but when we speak about producing games, we are very different, and we are at very different stages also. So, like Paraguay, I would say we are the newest, with maybe Bolivia and Ecuador, I don't know, smaller countries that are just started into video game development, so we are kind of junior in that. And then you have Argentina, Colombia, Brazil, Mexico, with studios that might have 20 or more years, so they are well established and doing AA or even AAA. So there are really a lot of, I would say, opportunities to grow in the smaller countries or to be established. There are a lot of acquisitions from Europe and US because of this. So I believe it's a very good time for Latin America right now. And the cost of living is low, so we have good quality, so hire us.
Lots of good points there. And you know, I think even with those nuances, especially you, Luciano, you were talking about that that shouldn't put Western developers off, right? That there are still ways that we can have lots of different games from our cultural context that are still interesting for Latin America, even if they're coming from a different part of the world. Can you chat a little bit about that?
Yes, and on the opposite side, from what we just heard from India, Latam is actually a very open market. You see, we grew up with international culture. And what this means for you is that if you want to invest in the region, if you want to bring your games there, you just do it. I mean, you don't have to change anything.
Just do it, yeah.
Yeah, just do it. We'll enjoy them anyways. And for example, for our previous title, Icy Red, it was inspired actually by movies such as RoboCop and Alien. And funny thing is that despite the game still having local cultural references, such as the mate, which is Argentina's national beverage, the game still looks like and feels like a Hollywood action movie that was actually enjoyed by both LATAM audiences, but also international ones.
Awesome. And like I said, we don't have a lot of time, but before we wrap up, I just wanted to chat a little bit about the future. So where do we see Latin America and India being placed within the global games industry, you know, in the next 5 to 10 years? And anyone can jump on this one, otherwise I'll pick on someone.
I think we're going to start to see a lot of studios that come off as the overnight success, it'll feel like, that are just emerging in the next 5 to 10 years with some really original projects. I think we're going to see more merger and investment activity as well.
Yeah, and I believe that it will come with investment. There's a lot of interest, parties in investing in Latin America. And I also see that we can become a powerhouse on producing, even not only our own games, but helping producing big titles in US, Europe, and Asia. So there's a lot of possibilities there.
In Brazil, I would like to talk about the state of the industry right now, because I believe we are not anymore an industry of a lot of generalists making smaller games or small teams from themselves, but now we have reached the industrial scale with specialized professionals in full pipelines, very organized and running inside the studios. And it's the moment where some people that left Brazil or were working in international titles are back working in titles. That happened to us. Some people that worked with us, left Petit Fabrique, and we followed up and loved their work, and now are back working with us in games made in Brazil. So I believe the future will see more of that, like studios coming to Brazil, people coming back to Brazil to bring this worldwide experience to mature our industry even more.
Luciano, you were about to jump in.
To Juan's point and my own experiences, I saw that a bunch of companies, publishers, investors, are in fact investing in the region. In Argentina in particular, I have seen like lots of publishers being like very keen to see what we are capable of and starting to invest because, well, there is of course a cost opportunity, it's a reality, and they are of course taking advantage of it, and that's great. And what that means is that in a couple of years, you will see like massive hits from the region just because, well, they trusted us.
What about for India, Ravi?
I'll do it 2 important points inside of India. India is a mobile-first gaming country. So a lot of kids who grew up playing mobile games are now in the workforce, are now spending their time and money on games, which is why we're seeing a large domestic market kind of emerge. What I'm also excited about is, game makers, kids who ended up playing a lot of games are now making games, including my own family, and my kids have now their own game studio.
You did mention it. I was so hoping that Ravi was going to bring up. We got to see yesterday his kids' studio, who have a website, a game that they've already made.
Yeah.
I mean, it's incredible.
So my kids have a studio called panipuristudios.com. Panipuri is authentically an Indian dish, and that's really what they're making for India. And I'm really excited about seeing Indian games kind of come out to the fore, be played worldwide, and that's really what I'm very excited about India.
We said last night that Ravi is creating like a dynasty in India by already getting, what are they, 8 and 10, right? You said yeah.
13 and 10.
Amazing.
If I may,
You may.
remember that we have Gamescom Latams in this year, so the industry is getting really bigger and strong. So please come. It's a huge and awesome event.
Yeah, not only the industry is getting bigger, but the projects as well. So I believe that now it's the time to come to Latin America with big, long-term, more ambitious projects for the studios and also for co-production.
Definitely. And are there any kind of, maybe just for the last minute or so, challenges that you think still need to be overcome to get there, to all those kind of future visions that you have?
Yeah, for me, is the challenge now is show our work and be seen as this place that can embark on bigger projects.
I believe we have language barriers. That is a problem for artists and programmers to work with international teams. So that's something that we need to tackle. And training. We need to work with established teams so we can level up faster. That are the 2 main ones for me.
I think the challenge in India is that we don't have too many studios that have kind of made world-class games yet. We have a large outsourcing industry, so there's a lot of talent available there that's been trained. The next few years would be critical in terms of putting out our own games, scaling them, growing out global businesses, learning from that culture, and then people going out and starting their own studios from there.
Awesome. Any last thoughts before we wrap?
To leave on a positive note, I think that if you eventually do decide to invest in the region or come and to check us out, you will see that you don't actually need to resign quality and still have a great product, and it's actually cheaper because of the cost of living, like Juan mentioned earlier. So it is in fact a great opportunity.
I think that's a great note to end on. Thank you so much, guys. I know we're just really like scratching the surface when it comes to this topic and also your knowledge. But luckily for everyone here who's in the room, you can seek out all these guys. You can't miss them. Even though Luciano doesn't like wearing pink, he's doing it for us. We appreciate it. So thanks so much. Appreciate it, guys.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.